Hello and welcome back to the Wednesday Brunch Podcast. I'm your host Jaden. Menu, please.
I'm your co-host Ryan. Iced mocha, please.
Nice choice today, Ryan. You always got something interesting.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome, of course. So today, it's just gonna be us today, because it's nice to have a chill kind of Wednesday podcast. Today on our menu, we're gonna have the classic Love It, Hate It, Why, Facts by Google. Our question today is related to university admissions and if race and ethnicity should play a factor in those admissions, how large they should be. Because, I was listening to my Harvard lecture, and that was one of the questions of the moral questions that they were discussing. So, before we get into those three things, how's your week been, Ryan?
So it's been sort of busy. The biggest event I have to say is I guess Sunday. Jane, have you ever been to Tommy Thompson Park?
I have many times.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that park existed.
Really?
Because
That's very cool.
when I'm on the lakeshore, I'm usually straight to the beach. I had no idea that
Right.
park existed. And long story short, our club had an event, and we just had a biking event. Everyone went biking except for me and a couple others. Because since I'm short, I don't have any bikes that really fit my height.
Right.
Because my legs are short, but my body's a bit taller.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was around, I guess, a 2-hour something walk.
Yeah,
It's really nice.
It is.
Everyone biked there or drove the car there. I had to walk. That was like a 40-minute walk, and then another 2 hours, maybe 3 hours of walking, and then I had to walk home because, like an idiot, I refused a drive home.
Right. You should have taken the drive, Ryan.
But I know I should have taken the offer.
Yeah.
But it was really beautiful. We saw a couple
It
of
is.
caterpillars of different kinds. I remember one of them was a monarch, and then there was a couple of monarch butterflies.
Right.
Seeing the lake was really nice. There was couple oil rigs, cargo ships.
Yeah.
It's really different view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love going down there. I like going down there in the winter. It's like freezing cold, but it's very different and very cool. I haven't been down there in a while though. Yeah, it's definitely a nice walk. I think it's 7 kilometers or something. That's how long it is.
I did not see the lighthouse though, so I don't think I went far enough.
No, I haven't made it that far either because I get
Alright,
tired.
one day.
Yes,
Yep.
one day. My week's been pretty good. Saturday, I went to my favorite farmers market, the Withrow Park Farmers Market here in Toronto. Yeah, I got some lovely peaches and blueberries. I wanted to get cheese, but they sold out, so I couldn't do that.
Mhm.
Then I decided to take a walk down to the Brickworks, which was nice. Haven't been there in a while. I was able to fly my drone, getting some different shots because for me, I go down to the beach a lot, so I have that constant kind of aerial view there, and that gets kind of boring for me over time. So having that new area to shoot from is very cool to do.
Yeah, maybe try Tommy Thompson next time.
Yes, I have done a little bit, but I want to do more. I want to go to the end and just fly out. I think it would be very cool.
I'm so surprised that your legs aren't sore every day.
Yeah, well,
Because that 5-hour walk, I'm still kind of dead.
Yeah, I train myself. I do a lot of walking anyway, so I'm for me, every day, if I'm coming home, I take that extra little bit. Instead of taking that shortcut, I just go a little bit longer, and that kind of builds me up, I guess.
I'll probably try that out too. But yeah,
Good.
for now, I'm just stretching before,
Right.
because I find stretching so helpful,
Yeah, it is, right?
especially when you get older.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, you're not that old. You're what? You're young. You're not an old man yet, Ryan. Come on.
I know, but still, you get older, things happen.
Yeah, it's true. What else do I have this week? Oh, this Friday I have my first paid photography gig, which is going to be very fun. Yes. I'm a little bit another photographer of mine, a couple months ago, he did some portraits for me. He passed my name along to this person, and they want to get some photos done. The only thing is I haven't really done professional portrait yet, but I do have a little bit of skills, so I'm trying to get some new gear, just practice and get into that flow because I haven't done portrait in a while. I'm excited to do that, but I'm a little bit nervous because again, I haven't done it in a long time.
Well, you can't really dive into a career without actually diving in.
Exactly.
So
Well, it's not going to be thank you. It's not going to be my big career, but I think a side kind of photography, I think would be fun. Yeah. Anyways, let's jump on to Love It, Hate It, Why.
Okay, so on today's Love It, Hate It, Why, I'm gonna change it up a bit. So instead of the usual, I give a topic, I'm gonna give two, and then
Okay.
and today you're going to choose the one you prefer.
Mm-hmm.
And then, for example, we'll try the first one. So I'll either say Coke or Pepsi. You'll give me
Right.
one, I'll ask why, and then you just give me an answer why.
Okay.
It's not very different, but it's just a little
Slightly
change.
different. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'll put 2 minutes on the clock. Are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
All right, so we'll go in 3,
Okay.
2, 1. Coke versus Pepsi.
Pepsi.
Why?
My mother.
What was the answer?
My mother.
Oh,
She
your
just
mother.
drinks Pepsi.
Okay.
That's like kind of like, yeah. Okay.
I like Pepsi too.
Mhm.
Showers versus baths.
Showers. Efficient. Oh, wait. Efficient.
Oh, that's a good one. Headphones versus speakers.
Headphones.
Why?
Private.
Laptops versus desktops.
Laptops.
Why?
Portable.
Dogs versus cats.
Cats.
Why?
Self-sufficient.
They're a bit lazy though, I
Yeah,
have to say.
they are.
Windows versus Mac.
Windows.
Why?
Cheaper.
I agree. Hockey versus lacrosse.
Hockey.
Why?
Canadian. They're both
Both
technically
Canadian,
Canadian. I would
I guess-
say
I guess hockey's a bit more fun to watch.
yes.
Birds versus lizards.
Birds.
Why?
Flying.
Red versus blue.
Blue.
Why?
Ocean.
Sweet.
Mhm.
Beef or chicken.
Chicken.
Why?
Environment.
I feel like the plains are having a lot of overstock of beef.
Yeah. And also, like, when it comes to beef, okay, I'll talk about it after.
DreamWorks versus Disney.
Disney.
Why?
Childhood.
Books versus audiobooks.
Books.
Why?
Physical.
Tablet versus phone.
Phone.
Why?
Portable.
Wired versus wireless charging.
Wired.
Why?
Faster.
Let's see. Keyboard versus mouse. If you would rather have one or the other.
Keyboard.
Paper versus plastic.
Paper.
Why?
Trees.
And the last one, Nerf or nothing.
Nothing.
Why?
I don't know. I just like the sound of nothing better.
Okay,
I was gonna
we went- That took around 2 minutes, 31 seconds, so we could try that next time with guests,
Yeah, I like
the
that.
reduced list. But tell
was
me
gonna-
about the beef.
Yeah, so it's more. So the thing about cows is they're like, you don't get a lot of the meat out of it, but like for the size and the amount that they eat. For chickens, are like the smallest. You can have more chickens, but they create more in the end, and they're more efficient. So that's why I think they're better. I don't know if that's like completely true, but that's what I've heard. So yeah.
Because I know people can eat all of a chicken, but not all of a cow.
Exactly.
Like you never see cow head being served anywhere.
No. Exactly. That's the problem with it. Like I feel like they also create a lot of like waste. That's the
Yeah.
problem too. There's less waste for the smaller creature. So that's my
So yeah,
thought.
it seems that chicken is the superior animal in this case.
Yeah. I'd say so. But I am a vegetarian 5 days a week, so if it doesn't really make it, it's a smaller fat footprint for myself than like a person who eats meat every day. Yeah.
Yep, and that concludes the segment for today.
Very nice. It liked the twist today, Ryan. It was very fun, very different.
It's nice to change things up.
Yeah. Okay. Let's jump into Facts by Google, I think we called it. It's been a while because we skipped that last week because of technical issues. Okay. So the first question is, how many years is one human year to a dog?
To a dog, is it 3?
Yes. Let's just read what they got here from WebMD. But the conventional wisdom that one dog year equals 7 human years is an oversimplified view of how old your dog is in human years. Although a dog's age averages out this way, there is quite a bit of variation. For example, dogs mature more quickly than children in the first couple of years. So I guess, like, physically speaking, it's 7, but then, like, behavior-wise, I guess, like, so, like, it's a 4-year-old dog. That dog is like an 8-year-old child, I guess. If you're gonna make comparisons between children and dogs, which is very odd, but Google.
Yeah, like as a child, I never really thought about it. Like, I always thought like dogs would have the same, or we would count them just like humans. But then I realized all animals have like different lifespans. It's really hard to calculate.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first fact today, I'm sure I told you this one already, Jane, but in general, recess was not made for the students, but it was actually made as a mandatory break for teachers because they were required to have a certain amount of breaks every single day.
He told me that. I was very fascinated. Never would have expected, but it makes sense if you think about it.
Yeah, it's because as students, like, we're always caring about ourselves, but never enough about the teachers.
Yeah, it's so
Like,
weird if you think. Yeah.
You see so many people always complain to teachers about their bad marks, but it's not exactly their fault. Like sometimes it is. Like sometimes they're like, teachers are human; they have feelings too.
Yeah.
So maybe sometimes they don't like a specific student, but teachers, their job is to try to be as unbiased as possible.
Yeah, but it's very hard to be unbiased. That's just a part of life. You have your personal opinions. Okay. And that was a very interesting when you told me. I was fascinated because I never really thought about it. Like, it makes more sense that it's a break for them than a break for us.
Like, there's a lot of scientific evidence talking about like how recess is good for the kids as well.
Yeah.
But that wasn't like the main function of it to begin with.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. It's a very interesting one. Thank you for that. Next up, why are Granny Smith apples called Granny Smith apples?
I don't know. Is it because of a brand?
It's something about Australia. I'm going to read. Granny Smith's apples originated in Australia in 1868 when Maria Ann Granny Smith found a seedling growing by a creek on her property. This was the same place where she would toss French crab apples grown in Tasmania. The seedling bore light green colored apples that Granny Smith propagated. Interesting.
So it's like her own specific brand in a way.
She breeded some apples, so that's kind of cool. She made her own.
Oh, that is interesting. But I thought Granny Smith was like a commercial brand or something nowadays. That made me think of something else.
I think there is something. There is like it's a flavor, like one of those like artificial flavors, like Granny Smith. I think that's
okay. That's interesting. Okay, so the second fact of the day is statistically, going to work every day is a lot more dangerous than going to war. Statistically speaking, it's just the sheer amount of people that work compared to the ones that go to war. So statistically, you are more likely to die on your way to and from work than it is to just go to war.
Really? That's wow.
Because I don't know if you know anything about like life on a military base, but it's a lot or nothing. Because from what I heard, people are just bored all the time, especially on deployment. You're just waiting for something to happen and waiting for things not to happen. Right.
So my question about that is, though, does it really matter how many people, or does it matter the type of people? Because like when you're fighting someone, they are more aggressive. I'm guessing they're more tuned to like military warfare than let's say like the guy that works at Starbucks. So like, does it really depend on the amount of people, or does it depend on the type of people? That's my kind of takeaway.
I'm just thinking like it's if they're talking about statistically, it's more like just the sheer amount of people that work. Like a lot of people work construction. Is one example. Like construction workers have it really dangerous. Like when you enter a hospital, the majority or a ton of the patients are usually construction workers.
Right, that's true. I guess you could also connect it to how like you're more likely to die in a car crash than a plane crash. Those kind of like aspects. Cars are dangerous, so like people are driving cars more when they go to work than they are when they're fighting a war. So I guess that makes sense.
If you're fighting a war, if you're in like a Humvee and it's not exactly likely that you're gonna hit like an IED, in the middle of a road,
Yeah.
but you could definitely get hit.
Mhm.
But since there's so many cars and cars are crashing every day, I would say it's a fair statistic. You're actually 3 times more likely to die traveling to and from work than being shipped out to war.
3 times. Wow.
Yep,
That's
at
a
least in
good.
today's current times, like
Who's
our
the
worst
source of
estimation.
that?
Say again?
Who's the source? I might join the military because I'm safer, apparently, according to the
Well, the
statistics.
Canadian military is a lot safer than any other military, right? Because
I would say,
we're not usually at war. We're just there
yeah,
to peacekeep and help.
exactly. That's pretty cool.
Canadian military is a good place. You get paid
Yeah.
well. The only problem is that if you ever come down with like a mental illness,
Hmm.
after they don't treat the veterans as great as they used to
That's
because of
not
budget
good.
reasons and funding
Right.
reasons.
That's too bad.
Mhm.
So the next one is: are beans a fruit or a vegetable?
Beans?
Mhm.
Aren't they fruit?
I believe they are, but I'm going to read what they got here. The Mayo Clinic. You know, some of these sources that Google gives are very odd. The other parts of plants are considered vegetables. These include the stems, leaves, and roots, and even the flower bud. The following are technically fruits: avocados, beans, pea pods, corn kernels, really, cucumbers, grains, nuts, olives, peppers, pumpkins, peppers, that's surprising, squash, sunflower seeds, and tomatoes. Well, we know tomatoes, that's obvious. Wow, did not know that.
But what is how do they classify fruit and vegetable exactly?
I don't know.
Because like my reasoning would be, for example, one of them has more juice and water,
Mhm.
and it's less crunchy than the other, and that would be my definition of like a fruit and a vegetable.
I think so. Maybe it's the water content, because if you
That's
think
what I'm
about it,
thinking. Yeah.
corn kernels, that's the most surprising for me. That means like whenever people have popcorn, they're actually like having fruit snacks at the movie theater.
Yeah, it's like fried plum or something, or no,
Yeah.
not fried plum, but like dried mango or something.
Yeah, that's a weird one. But it's kind of cool too, if you think about it. Okay.
Pumpkin's not all that surprising to me.
Pumpkin's not surprising.
Mm.
Peppers is a little bit for me.
Yeah, peppers is pretty surprising because they're crunchy,
Mhm.
but I guess they have
Yeah.
like a lot of water as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
the next fact: Russia actually has more surface area than Pluto.
Really? Wow. Pluto's
in-
so small. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
it's the entire planet together, like its entire. I don't know how, I forget how to describe it, but like its entire area is a lot bigger than Russia, obviously because it's an entire round planet.
Right.
But like just talking about the surface area alone, it's Pluto's surface area is around 6,400,000 square miles. We're using square miles because kilometers doesn't really make sense in this comparison because it's just too big.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got 6,400,000 square miles compared to Russia, which has 6,600,000. So it's around 200,000 square miles larger.
Wow, that is crazy. That's something you don't really expect. 200,000? Did you say?
200,000 square miles.
Wow, that's a lot.
And Canada is actually only half of that at 3,800,000.
Well, that's something I already kind of knew, you know, because Canada isn't the biggest. Russia's always so proud to be the largest country in the world. It's still really
But I was
cool.
really surprised just by like the sheer difference
Yeah,
because we're only half as big.
not something you really expect to learn about or hear about. Interesting. Okay, what do we got next here? So, why is it called AM and PM, Ryan?
AM and PM as in radio?
As in like time.
As in time.
Yeah, so like 9 a.m.
Oh, I should know this. I remember reading about it, but I forget.
It's an interesting one. So, these clocks are generally known as 12-hour clocks. The first period of the day is called ante-meridian, which means before noon.
Oh yeah,
in
meridian.
Latin.
Yep.
The second period is called post-meridian, meaning afternoon Latin. So, a little bit of Latin there. It's pretty cool.
Just give me a second, my computer. I'm back. Okay, so the next fact: the South Pole actually doesn't have a specific time zone because all the longitude lines on the planet
Really?
or on the maps all meet there.
So
So
there's
all the
no
stations.
what time zone for the
So the South Pole doesn't have one, or it doesn't have a specific one because it is all the time zones. Because
So
you know
it's-
how on a
so
map
it could
all the
be-
lines curve down
Yeah.
or like curve down to one spot,
Right.
and that's why the South Pole is all the time zones at once.
That's cool. If you think
And
about
so for example, stations in the South Pole, since they don't
it.
have it's so stations that are stationed in the South Pole,
Mhm.
they actually use their own country's time zone because there just isn't a time zone down in the South Pole.
Yeah.
So you could have two stations next to each other, and one could be, for example, one from Canada, one from Russia. They had completely different time zones.
Really? That's fascinating. That's something you really think about. That's kind of cool. What about for the North Pole then?
I'm sure it's around the same because I remember, like, if you look on a map, the longitude lines are also
Right.
up there, but I'm not sure.
That's cool though. Really not something you think about on a daily basis about time zones and such. Okay. So let's do another one of these. Interesting. What spices are used to make pepperoni?
Pepperoni?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first they use black pepper, right? And maybe paprika. I'm not sure.
Paprika's in there, white pepper, cayenne, I guess? Pepper? Cayenne. And then anise, which is what they use for licorice too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that's why it has like that distinct.
That's the taste that seed is what makes licorice taste like licorice.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense why there's black licorice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, I think.
Also, what is your opinion on black licorice?
Oh, I don't like it.
It's really pungent.
It's too much for me, yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like that's the pure version of licorice.
It is, yeah, technically, if you think about it, because that's like the closest you can get to the actual seed.
Okay, so our last fact of the day. This one's a bit weird, but some scientists actually genetically modified certain goats to spin spider silk from their udders.
Really?
So some U.S. Professor named Randy Lewis transplanted a gene into a few goats from a spider that allowed the goats to produce milk containing a certain specific protein, and this can be extracted from the goat milk and turned into spider silk thread.
Wow, that's really cool.
That's really cool, but it's also such a weird thing to do.
It is a weird thing to do.
Like if you put animal rights into like consideration too, like that's so unnatural.
Yeah.
But that's a topic for another day.
Of course. Okay, let's do a little bit. How old is the oldest person ever recorded? Let me check what year this is from now, so I can give you a...
Yeah, give me 3 guesses.
Okay, I'll give you 3.
All right. The first one is 130.
No.
143.
No.
180.
You just kept going up. It's 122, but I don't know if because I don't know if they're always reported. This is according to the Independent from 2013, so it could be overpassed, obviously, because that was a few years ago. So, no efforts seem to have been made to have him medically assessed or to call in representation for the Guinness World Records. The current holder of the organization's official accolade for the oldest ever is a French woman called Jenny Louis Calmet, who died in 1997 aged 122 years old in 164 days. It sounds like there could be another person, but that's like who they have recorded officially.
Yeah, because I know 120 is like not common, but just slightly more likely nowadays.
It is.
With like the quality of life.
Exactly.
Like I would be surprised with 130.
I feel like 140 is a good number. I think that seems reasonable, honestly.
Like I said, 180 because I knew it could be something insane. Really.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, 120. It's a lot easier to achieve nowadays. Not easy,
It is.
but maybe like 1% of people at most.
Yeah, it's definitely doable though. I want to try it, but not actually. No, I'm thinking 100. That's it. I don't need longer.
Yeah, 100's pretty old already.
Yeah, I'm not really trying to like get the world record. That's a little bit too much work for me. Anyways, do you have another fact, Ryan, or do you want to move on to our question of the day?
Let's move on to our question of the day. We have around 5 minutes plus extra if we want.
We do. So, like I mentioned, I've been taking this Harvard lecture. It's called Justice, and it's offered on an online course by Professor Michael Sandel. So the specific lecture that I'm going to be referring to today is, I believe, 817, and it looks into race and ethnicity as a factor in admission. So what's your thoughts on that, Ryan? Do you think that should be the primary way that people are decided to go to like a university program, or should it be like a secondary? As
in, should we decide whether to admit someone because of their race and gender?
Exactly, and also, or if they should be decided just based on their merit and their academic ability.
That's hard to say, because for example, if we're talking about academic merit, is the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people grow, like everyone like grows in different ways, and have their own ways of learning, and that could be really harmful. Like certain people that are late bloomers, like maybe they'll have a terrible first couple years.
Mm-hmm.
But then they could just superstar from there.
Yeah. One of the arguments that another student gave is a lot of the time there's already an inequality before they even get to university with some of these ethnic groups. They have worse schooling in general, so that's already a disadvantage. So let's say that they have a bad school system, and for another example, another group has a better school system and they do better, but that's only because they had a better school experience. Is it fair to like give that advantage to this other person just because they had a better schooling? So kind of the arguments they gave for this is there's three arguments. It's a corrective, compensating for the past wrongdoings, and just in general, like for indigenous people, like that the genocide that was placed upon them, for like black folks, the slavery, and then for other groups, there's so many like wrongdoings that were forced upon them.
Because actually, I remember talking about this with some with the people I was walking with on Sunday, like on our walk through Tommy Thompson.
Yeah.
We were talking about university and how like certain things just don't make sense. For example, why exactly do you need like a 97 to enter a certain program? A university's main goal is to make money, right?
Yeah.
So the main goal should be to get as many people in as possible.
I'd say so too. Yeah.
So
that does make sense.
Yeah. So like the biggest reason might be space, but my suggestion would be to put people on a waiting list. Like don't outright like reject them, but put them on a waiting list. Give them a couple of years if you want to organize them in however way you like, maybe by mark, sure. But I would say give everyone a chance, because if a person wants to become an engineer, but then they're denied that right, or they're denied their dream, that's not healthy for anyone.
It's not right, no.
People become self-made engineers, but it's not likely.
You could say the same thing for World War II, you know. Hitler wanted to be a painter. I'm not saying that anything about him specifically. I'm just saying that aspect of like being denied that dream isn't really fair, based on like your ability. I guess it's fair to say that your ability is an important part, but you know, again, it's not fair at the same time.
Yeah, and that goes back to like I said, like people grow in different ways and at different speeds.
Exactly.
So maybe give him 20 years. Hitler could have been like an amazing painter.
Maybe.
Could have been well known as a painter in our history books today.
Exactly. Instead of the alternative, which is very sad. Another kind of argument that someone said is diversity for the educational experience, and like diversity in general. So you don't want to have like all black students or all white students or all Asian students. You want to have that diversity because from different childhoods and different upbringings, you have different experiences. So that was one of the other arguments for just admitting people based on to get that diversity.
Yeah.
which I think is good, but again, there's issues in it.
Yeah, because it brings back the issues of segregation, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, for example, it was something they tried to abolish so many years ago, but it feels like, in a way, we're kind of bringing it back.
Yeah.
And especially people's views. For example, there are people's views about how movies and a black character should play a black character. And
Exactly.
for example, James Bond,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to give the role to, was it Idris Elba?
Idris Elba, yes.
But people started saying he should not play James Bond because first of all he's a black actor, but
Mm-hmm.
isn't that what we tried to abolish like so many years ago? That's
Yeah.
segregation.
I think that one's it's okay because he's not a real person.
Yeah.
I think if it becomes a problem if you're actually like you're trying to like you're being a character, not a character. You're trying to pretend to be another person. So, example, back in the late 1900s, they had I don't even know who was playing the parts, but indigenous kind of roles were being played by like white actors. For example, they had like, let's say for example blackface, like having that's wrong because these aren't characters, these are actual people, and I feel like that is a problem if you're actually just like having this. If they're going to be this group and you're going to play them by a different group, I feel like that is where the line kind of gets crossed.
Mm-hmm. So your argument is as long as they're not a real character, they should have the right to be played by anyone.
I would say no. If they're a character, then they can be played by anyone. But if they're like an ethnic group, then that's where the line for me
For
is
example,
drawn.
if they did a movie about what's his name? I don't know, maybe Rosa Parks, you wouldn't want them to be played by white actors.
No, I don't think that would be right because that's a real person. Wait, no, she's not a character. I feel like for characters, we've made these people that aren't real.
Yeah.
In a sense, and they don't really. It's a very difficult thing because like there's individual circumstances where that entire opinion can change.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, as long as it's tasteful and faithful to the original person or plans, I feel like that, to me, that is the right way to go.
Yeah.
For example, if they did a movie about, I don't know, I guess I'll use Rosa Parks again.
Yeah.
But maybe instead of, if she was played by a white actor, as long as they do it right.
Mm-hmm.
For example, this is a hard argument to make, honestly.
Very hard.
But if she was played by a white actor, as long as she did everything right and is tasteful and respectful to what she did back in the 90s, I think it should be okay.
I think so. I see that argument. But let's bring it back to admissions. So for me, I'm all for using those factors as a way to get in as being an indigenous and black student because I get those advantages. But from a moral standpoint, I don't see it as right because it's not fair that someone should just be picked because of a factor that they had no control over. You didn't get to pick if you were black, green, blue, red, turquoise, whatever. That's not up to you. So it's not fair that you get to succeed at your dreams just because of a coin toss, bro.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I'd say that's exactly how it should be. Like, people in a way should be based more on what they can or will be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
For example, but I'd say just give everyone a chance.
Yeah.
I'd say the waiting list idea would be my number one.
I think the waiting list is the best. But then again, who wants to wait to like succeed at their dreams? We'll just go somewhere else if they're really determined enough. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But also in that time, like, a person could grow their skills as well.
Exactly, that's true.
So it really depends on the person, like it always does.
See, that is why I like. I'm kind of like, for my Harvard lecture, I like it a lot because it makes you think a lot about how society is like formatted and the aspects like that. So I am enjoying this lecture and this discussion that we had.
It does sound interesting.
Yeah.
Next time, maybe I'll take a shot at it too if they allow.
I think they're going to be closing down soon, in a couple months. I think November is when the course ends, but you do have time if you want to check it out. Anyways, I think that's all the time we have for today. Check, please. I've been Jaden.
Credit, please. This was your co-host, Ryan.
Thank you again for joining us today. Goodbye.